During the Promise Part 2 and 3, Aang keeps asking Roku for advice on his promise to Zuko. Now, for those of you who do not know, Zuko ends up making Aang promise him that if he ever showed signs of being like his father, he would end him. If you guys want to know more about that promise, I'll have a link in the description to a video explaining all of that. But with this promise, Roku keeps insisting to Aang that a promise is a promise and it should be kept. Aang ends up asking him on many different occasions, but Roku's answer never changes. Eventually, Katara ends up talking to Aang and convinces him maybe the promise wasn't such a good idea, like just look at us, we're from separate nations. Does that mean that we have to be separate? This ends up making Aang go to Roku one last time. He tells Roku about a dream he had that he kept his promise of ending Zuko, and Roku tells him that he did his job and brought peace to the world. He pleads with Roku, telling him that he's an airbender and he loves being an air nomad. And he says if he turns his back on air nomad philosophy, that means it basically disappears from existence. If the last air nomad isn't practicing air nomad philosophy, then literally nobody is. Roku tells Aang that the Avatar is above all. Ideals, his own nation, friends, everything. Roku ends up telling Aang that Zuko is a part of his family tree and he must succeed where he failed. Aang ends up telling Roku that he's not like him, and it's not right for Roku to ask him to end his own great-grandson. He further questions Roku on what it means to save the world. Does it mean a big map? Does it mean a compass? Does it mean some cosmic energy that he creates? He goes on to tell Roku when he imagines a world, he sees his friends, family, Katara, Zuko, Sokka. They are the first people that come to mind. Now, Roku's not budging, that he needs to keep his promise, and Aang is tired of it. He ends up severing his connection to Roku, and he says his final goodbye, and ends up burning the medallion that keeps him close to Roku's spirit. Aang and Zuko end up figuring everything out, but that's to be expected, and that's not really the thing I wanted to focus on in this video. I wanted to focus on the fact that Roku, no matter how much information was brought up, and no matter how much Aang brought up good points, Roku was not willing to change his mind, and why that is. Now, personally, I believe this is due to Roku not being able to take into account about the world changing and evolving. He guides Aang on the knowledge of the world that he had, how it was when he left. He can't comprehend how the world is now. In the past 100 years, things have changed a lot, and he still sees the world exactly how he left off. Now, this is because that's all he knows, that's all he lived through. Now, this brings up a major weakness of talking to your past lives. Eventually, their knowledge would have been so outdated that it wouldn't have really mattered anymore. So maybe Korra severing the connection to the past avatars isn't as bad as I originally thought. But who knows, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you guys made it this far in the video, I think I earned your sub. But other than that, that's all I gotta say. So I will see you guys in the next video.